What's the most devastating thing a loved one has ever done to you? I was just a dumb kid back then, barely 16, living in a new town in Australia after me and my mom packed up and left Mississippi to get away from my dad, who was a mean son of a gun, always hurting us with his words and fists. Life down under was supposed to be a fresh start, and for a while, it was. I was figuring out who I was, messing around on the internet, when I stumbled across this girl online. Her name was Sarah, and we hit it off right away, chatting about nothing and everything for a few days. We decided to meet up at a park a couple blocks from my place, and when I saw her, she had this shy smile, like she wasn't sure what to expect. She was pretty, with soft brown hair and eyes that seemed to hide a lot. We talked for hours that day, sitting on a bench under some big old trees, and it felt like I'd known her forever. Within a couple weeks, we were a couple, and I was head over heels. Those early days were magic, full of laughs and moments I'll never forget, like holding her hand while we walked through the park or sneaking a kiss when no one was looking. I thought we'd be together for the long haul, no question. Sarah had a rough home life, though, way worse than I realized at first. Her dad was a deadbeat, always gone, and when he was around, he'd swipe cash from her mom to feed his booze habit. Her mom wasn't any better, hooked on drugs and selling them to make ends meet, leaving Sarah and her two siblings to fend for themselves. I didn't hear this secondhand, I saw it with my own eyes when I started going over to her place. But when we first met, she kept all that hidden, coming off as this sweet, innocent girl who didn't know much about the world beyond her front door. She didn't open up about her family until we'd been dating a bit, and when she did, it hit me hard. I knew what it was like to have a dad who made life hell, so I felt this connection to her, like I could be the one to help her through it. Maybe, in some messed up way, I thought helping her would fix the broken parts of me too. I started spending more time with her, trying to pull her out of that dark house. She'd come over to my place, and we'd swap stories about our lives, or I'd take her to the park to get her mind off things. We were always touching, hugging, kissing, and it felt so good, like nothing else mattered. Things got more serious over time, and I ain't gonna lie, it was exciting. I was 16, never been with a girl like that, and it made me feel closer to her than ever. We were both new to it, fumbling our way through, but that made it special, something just for us. We kept on like that for months, wrapped up in each other. On Valentine's Day, we went all out, getting each other little gifts, a necklace for her, a keychain for me, and we ended up at her place. We'd talked about it before, and that night, we both felt ready to take things to the next level. We lost our virginity to each other, and it was a big deal, something we shared that felt right at the time. Life was good for a while. I landed a part-time job at a local store, was pulling decent grades, and had this whole new life in Australia, far from my dad's shadow. I was happy, really happy. Then Sarah's dad showed up again, and he didn't leave. She told me how scared she was about him coming back, and I got why. The first time I met him, he looked like a ghost, skinny, pale, with greasy hair that hung in his face. He shook my hand, said it was nice to meet me, but I could tell he was no good, just like my own dad. Things changed after that. A few months later, Sarah showed up at my house one day, crying her eyes out. I ran out and held her tight as she sobbed into my shoulder, saying, "He did it. He hit me, like she'd been waiting for it to happen." I was so mad I could have punched a wall, but I just held her, trying to make her feel safe. That moment flipped something in her, like a switch going off. She wasn't the same girl anymore. She started listening to dark, heavy music, got real down, stopped showing up to school, and wanted to be physical all the time, like it was the only way she could feel anything. One morning, she didn't come by so we could walk to school together. I was about to head out alone when I got this gut feeling I should check on her, even if it meant being late. I went to her house, and her mom let me in, pointing me to Sarah's room. She was in bed, curled up under the blankets in a dark room. She looked peaceful, but I could sense the hurt inside her. I thought about waking her, but instead, I just climbed in and held her. As soon as I did, she grabbed my hand and held it tight, letting me know she'd been awake the whole time. My heart broke for her. She was always so full of life, even with everything going on, but now she was quiet, like the fight had gone out of her. We stayed like that for a bit, maybe 10 minutes, before I said, "Come on, we gotta get to school." She groaned, said she just wanted to stay in bed and cry, but I told her school was better than being stuck in that house. After a bit of convincing, she got up, and we went. A few weeks later, we were hanging out in the park, lying on the grass, staring up at the sky, just talking. Out of nowhere, she climbed on top of me, looking at me with this flirty grin, like she wanted to mess around right there. I was caught off guard, and as I looked into her eyes, it hit me, she wasn't the girl I fell for. Her dad's abuse had changed her, turned her into someone I didn't recognize. She wanted to do stuff in the park, which wasn't like her at all. I knew she was hurting, trying to cope in a bad way, so I said no, and we packed up and left. I walked her home, and she asked me to come in. We went to her room, and the second the door closed, she pushed me onto the bed. I laughed at first, thinking she was playing, but then she started undoing my belt, and it wasn't a joke. I pushed her off, told her to slow down, but I could see it in her eyes, she wasn't doing this out of love. She was in pain, using this to deal with it. I said, "This ain't right," and headed for the door, but she pushed me back down, saying, "If you love me, you'll let me." I told her to stop, that I had to get going, but she kept at it, yelling, "I'm stressed out, I need this, don't make it hard." I pushed her off again, but she wouldn't quit. Finally, I froze, and she did what she wanted. I felt powerless, ashamed, like I'd let myself down. I didn't say a word, didn't look at her, just lay there until it was over. I only ever told my best friend, who said it was sexual assault. I couldn't believe it, a guy like me, assaulted by a girl. I was too embarrassed to tell anyone else, not even my mom, figuring they wouldn't believe me. I mean, guys aren't supposed to let that happen, right? And this was someone I loved, someone I trusted. It messed me up bad. We stopped being physical after that. A few weeks later, Sarah had to stay at my place for a couple weeks after she reported her dad to the cops. One day, she mentioned this guy, Peter, she'd been talking to. I made a dumb joke about her buying him a drink, and she lost it, yelling that she wasn't cheating and I needed to trust her. I said sorry, feeling like an idiot. But then she started talking to Peter more, staying up late on the phone, asking for privacy whenever I came near. I didn't think much of it at first, but when she started hanging out with him, I got a bad feeling. I asked her about it, and she'd snap, "Why don't you trust me?" We'd argue, which we never used to do, and I'd end up apologizing, feeling guilty for even bringing it up. Things got worse. One night, I asked about her day, and she went on and on about Peter, how great he was. I said, "Can you tell me something that ain't about Peter?" And she dragged me into the kitchen, screaming at me like I'd never seen. It reminded me of my dad, the way he'd yell, and it shook me. I knew then she wasn't the girl I loved anymore. I felt like I'd failed her, like I couldn't save her from her pain, and it was killing me inside. The next day, after school, I stopped us outside my house and laid it all out. I told her I wasn't okay with how she was treating me, that I wanted us to work, but I was done being used. She just turned and walked away. Half an hour later, she came back, said she was staying somewhere else, that I was like her dad, that I scared her. And where'd she go? Peter's place. Not long after, she broke up with me. It hurt like hell, but part of me felt free, like I could breathe again. I didn't handle it well, though. I went out to the shed and started pounding on the punching bag, no gloves, just my fists. I'd never been that angry before. I hit it harder and harder, grunting, then screaming, then crying. Blood started running down my hands, but I didn't stop until I collapsed, sobbing, clinging to the bag. That's how my mom and stepdad found me. I had to wear bandages on my hands for weeks. Me and Sarah didn't get back together for a long time. Eventually, she admitted she'd been cheating with Peter but said they were done. I told her I got it, that she was hurting, and she agreed. We decided to try again once we'd both healed. I was hopeful, thinking maybe she'd be her old self again. Dumb move. We flirted a bit, but my mom warned me something was off, so I held back, gave her space while we stayed friends. Then one day, she looked me in the eye and said she'd been sleeping with another guy. She said she was sorry, but that was it for me. I cut her out, stopped talking to her completely. She started spreading lies, telling people I hit her or yelled at her. I was floored. I'd always treated her with respect, loved her with everything I had, and she was saying this crap. It got worse when I started dating someone new. Her friends would follow me home from school, and one day, Sarah texted me, saying I couldn't see my new girlfriend. When I told her we both had our own lives, she threatened to kill me. That was the last straw. We never spoke again. Not long ago, I wrote her a letter, saying I forgave her for everything, but she never answered, never even acknowledged it. Now I'm 18, about to finish high school. I've been single for a year. My second girlfriend didn't work out because I was still torn up from Sarah. It's taken me a year and a half to even talk about this. I'm still ashamed, not just because of what happened with Sarah, but because I let myself get so lost in it. I thought I could save her, but I couldn't even save myself.